It's quite something, though, isn't it? And nice to end the programme with some common ground as well, I have to say. Jennifer Carroll and Brett Bruin, thank you so much, as ever, for being on The Context with us. And just a reminder that we will be keeping you right up to date with all the big stories coming out of the US here on BBC News, which, of course, have a big impact on the rest of the world. So from me and all the team on The Context, thank you for watching.
At 10, Donald Trump suggests he'll be firm and frank with Vladimir Putin when they meet to discuss the war in Ukraine. The two leaders are due to hold talks in Alaska on Friday, but without President Zelensky.
I'm going in to speak to Vladimir Putin, and I'm going to be telling him, you got to end this war, you got to end it.
The UN accuses Israel of a grave breach of international humanitarian law after 5 journalists are killed in Gaza. More than 65 years after his disappearance in Antarctica, the remains of a renowned British meteorologist are discovered in a melting glacier.
The golden rule with everyone in the production team was that the audience came first.
And she helped shape the way millions of young children viewed the world. Biddy Baxter of Blue Peter has died. She was 92.
On BBC One in London and iPlayer, the Home Secretary defends the arrest of 500 people who joined a London protest in support of the banned group Palestine Action.
Hello to you. Donald Trump has been dampening down expectations of his summit with Vladimir Putin on Friday, where they'll discuss the war in Ukraine. He now says it'll be a feel-out meeting, gauging what's possible as regards the terms of a deal to end the war. It comes after President Zelensky dismissed White House proposals for a land swap arrangement with Moscow, and European leaders made it clear Ukraine had to be at the negotiating table. Sir Keir Starmer and Canada's Prime Minister Mark Carney have both warned that a peace agreement must be built with Ukraine, not imposed upon it. In a moment, we'll get the view from Brussels and EU leaders, but first, Sarah Smith has our top story from Washington. Well, James Waterhouse is in Brussels. We'll be speaking to him in a moment. But first, to you, Sarah, a feel-out meeting. It's now being described as, usually major summits like this are a little bit more substantive than that, aren't they? All right, James, thank you. James Waterhouse there in Brussels, and Sarah Smith live in Washington. Many thanks. And Victoria will have more over on Newsnight on BBC Two shortly. Hi there.
Hello, Clive. Yeah, President Trump deploys the National Guard to Washington, D.C. to crack down on violent gangs and what he calls bloodthirsty criminals. So is this a power grab from the president or a legitimate means to tackle crime in America's capital? Plus, we will speak live to a long-time advisor to King Charles, Sir Jonathan Porritt, who was arrested at Saturday's Palestine Action demo. Join us live, 10:30, BBC Two, BBC News and iPlayer. See you soon.
Thanks, Victoria. Now, the UN Human Rights Office has accused Israel of a grave breach of international humanitarian law after 5 Palestinian journalists were killed in Gaza City. They worked for the Qatari-based news channel Al Jazeera, including a prominent reporter, Anas al-Sharif. The BBC understands before the war he worked for a Hamas media team, but Israel says it targeted him because he posed as a journalist while serving as the head of a Hamas cell. For millions, his reporting was a window on the war in Gaza after Israel banned international journalists, including the BBC, from reporting there. The New York-based Committee to Protect Journalists says Israel has failed to provide evidence to back up its allegations. John Donnison has more from Jerusalem. Police in Kent have arrested 3 teenagers on suspicion of murder after a man was killed in a fight on the Isle of Sheppey. Officers were called last night after reports that a man in his 40s was attacked in Laysdown-on-Sea. He died at the scene, and a 16-year-old girl and 2 boys aged 14 and 15 remain in custody. Scotland's former First Minister says she, in the lead-up to the Scottish referendum, it was very difficult and very emotional. Nicola Sturgeon has been writing about her experiences in a new book. James Cook is live in Glasgow now. What's you been saying, James? OK, James, thank you. James Cook there, live in Glasgow. And you can listen to a full interview with Nicola Sturgeon on the Newscast podcast, available tomorrow morning on BBC Sounds. Now, the 4th heat wave of the summer is on its way for many of us, with an amber heat health alert being issued for large parts of central and southern England. The high temperatures mean significant impacts are likely across health and social care services. Ellie Price has that story. More than 65 years after his disappearance, the bones of a renowned British meteorologist have been found in Antarctica. Dennis Bell disappeared while climbing a glacier in the 1950s after falling into a crevasse, and his body was never recovered. But now a melting glacier has revealed his remains, much to the relief of his family. Georgina Renard has the story. This week marks the 80th anniversary of the end of the Second World War. It was on the 15th of August 1945 that victory was declared over Japan. Tens of thousands of soldiers from the Commonwealth fought as part of British forces in the Far East, and Corporal Mirza Khan from the Punjab Regiment, who eventually settled in Bradford, was one of them. He served in Burma, where some of the fiercest fighting took place. His granddaughter is a BBC journalist, Sabia Pervez, and she's been speaking to him about his reflections on the war. The woman who helped shape the way millions of young children viewed the world, BBC TV producer Biddy Baxter, has died. She was 92. For more than a quarter of a century, she was in charge of Blue Peter, devising the format and turning it into the most successful children's programme on television. David Silito looks back at her career. Biddy Baxter of Blue Peter, who's died at the age of 92. Now, we were telling you about that heat wave. It's on its way again, the 4th of the summer. Time for a full look at the weather news now. Elizabeth has the details. Hi there.
Hi, thank you, Clive. Well, we'll start off with this picture from Aberdeenshire. So temperatures across eastern Scotland reach on Thursday. More on the BBC Weather app, Clive.
Elizabeth, thank you for that. That's it. Now, time for all the news where you are. Have a peaceful night.
Welcome to BBC London. I'm Alpa Patel. The Home Secretary has defended the arrests of more than 500 people who attended a protest in support of the now banned group Palestine Action. Yvette Cooper says there may be people who don't know the full nature of the organisation and that the group has been accused of involvement in violent attacks. Here's Daniel Sanford. Let's take a look at some of the other day's news for you. A high air pollution alert has been issued in London for tomorrow, with temperatures expected to exceed 30 degrees. The hot weather could create high ozone levels as the heat and sunshine react with pollution levels. Homes have been flooded in Islington after a water main burst. Some residents on Canonbury Street have been moved into temporary accommodation. Tiny tracking devices fitted to yellow-legged hornets are being called a game changer in the fight against the invasive predator. The National Bee Unit has begun trialling the technology as the number of nests hits a record for this time in the season. Yellow-legged hornets are seen as a significant threat to honeybee and other pollinators. Now, it's known as Wet Wipe Island because it's thought around 180 tonnes of congealed wet wipes has formed in the River Thames near Hammersmith Bridge. That is the equivalent weight of 15 double-decker buses. Work is now underway to get rid of it. Tom Edwards has this report. Time for the weather now. Here's Gillian Brown.
Hello there. Well, it's looking settled and humid as we head through the course of tonight towards Friday and the weekend.
That's it from me in the Late Team. Good night.